Hey YouTube, this is CoyoteLovely. I'm coming to you today with Lesson 3, Stitches That Stay. If you're anything like me, you've had this problem with stitches before, where you have a seam that's showing light through in a high-stress area. What they really should look like, though, are the seams you'll see here. Even though the fabric is letting light through, you can't see where the seam is because it's actually doing what it's supposed to do. This is called a lock stitch, and it's actually really easy once you have somebody explain it to you. Now to kick off, what we're going to do is a normal seam, which for me is on number 2. This is just a straight up, exactly as you would normally do it seam. To make a lock stitch, you're going to end up running the same seam 2 more times, once on a stitch wider and once on a stitch more narrow. You may notice that I have a little bit of a problem going over pins, and that's because I've hit myself in the face with too many broken ones in the past. Next up, we're going to go ahead and do the number 3 stitch, the widest stitch, and the reason for this is it's way easier to pull if you found that you've made a mistake rather than pulling the number 1 stitch. We're going to follow the same line on the plate, we're going to follow the same line in the seam, we're just going to run all the way down. This is much faster, no pins in the way, nothing to stop you, big wide stitch, just keep rocking and rolling. Last but not least, we've got the number 1 stitch, the stitch that's going to take you the most amount of time. It's just going to take a long time to run through the seams. I have this sped up considerably quick to get through it. The reason I like to do this one last is, again, it's hard to pull if you need to pull it out, although it does, really make for a nice locked together seam that's not going to come apart anytime soon. Of course, there's nothing like getting to the end of the very last stitch and realizing that the thread in your bobbin's run out. Oh well, easy fix. Have it done soon. The most common use of this stitch is probably the corset, and this is actually the corset I was working on in this video. You can see how nice and tight the lock stitch keeps things, and you don't have any light or skin showing through. These pictures, by the way, were taken for me by a friend of mine, Angela. She got them at the Labyrinth of Jareth Masquerade Ball 2015. If you've never heard of it, look it up. It's absolutely fantastic. But this is really just to show off the stitch and, let's be honest, the costume. Another great use for this is in pouches and pockets, and I actually did use these on the pouches you see on the left-hand side of the costume there. This just makes sure that any small items you might have in your pockets don't come out through an open seam, and if you do break a seam, at least you have the other 2 in place for redundancy. Just makes for nice handy wearability. With that, I think we're pretty much done. I told you it was easy. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the section below, and as always, we appreciate any likes or shares just to spread the word around. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, keep having fun.